Since Marvel's Wolverine will be arriving sooner than we thought, I wanted to take a second to go over everything we know so far about the boss lineup and the story. What to do, Durag Nation? Now that Spider-Man 2 is behind us, all the focus has shifted to Marvel's Wolverine. I previously broke down the new leaks, release date, and when to expect the gameplay reveal, which I'll link at the end if you missed it, because today is all about the villains, which I think will be a huge determining factor for how fun Wolverine PS5 is and how good of a superhero debut it will be compared to the all-time greats like Spider-Man PS4, Arkham Asylum, and of course, Gollum. We already know the game will be more mature and violent than what Insomniac and Rocksteady had previously offered, since Logan does not share Batman or Spider-Man's philosophy when it comes to unaliving criminals. So we should expect plenty of sections of the game where Wolverine is just dicing up mobs of helpless enemies who made the fatal mistake of getting in his way. But a superhero game is only as good as its enemies, and Wolverine has a ton of iconic ones to choose from. We know based on how Insomniac has marketed its Spider-Man series, you can learn a lot about the story of the games by finding the clues Insomniac leaves in the trailers.
We're going to heal the world.
And Wolverine is no exception. There are a lot of Easter eggs that give us a great idea of what to expect in terms of the plot and boss encounters. One of the biggest teases is the inclusion of a license plate that references the Incredible Hulk 181, one of the most important comics in Marvel history. Not only does it include an epic battle between Logan and Banner, but it was also Wolverine's first ever appearance. The two are both hunting an immortal creature known as the Wendigo, which gives us two potentially insane boss encounters right off the bat for Wolverine. Logan sitting at the bar full of guys he's beaten up also isn't a coincidence, as Insomniac has recreated Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine, which features a story where Wolverine is visiting the Prince's Bar in Madripoor and gets involved in a conflict with a local crime lord named Roche, which includes a scene where Wolverine beats up his henchmen in the iconic bar. This would give us our first enemy faction. Insomniac seems to also indicate we'll be doing some stealth missions as well, since on the bar is a black eye patch. This is an iconic accessory comic fans will recognize from Wolverine's alter ego Patch, which he utilizes when cutting people in half won't help a situation and he needs to go undercover. Another interesting note about the Prince's Bar is that in Wolverine Origins Annual Number 1, he meets the owner of the bar, Seraph, for the first time, and Wolverine ends up performing jobs for her as an assassin for hire. Seraph and Wolverine have a long relationship in the comics. She ran the bar during the 1920s and seduced Logan, teaching him how to end people with more subtlety, since she is also a ruthless spy and assassin. The pair worked together on and off during World War I and World War II. The game will probably take place in the present day, so Wolverine will likely return to Madripoor to get away from whatever is going on with the X-Men and reunite with Seraph, who, despite not remaining as youthful looking as Wolverine, still lives well into the present day with no signs of slowing down. The Prince's Bar could act as a sort of base of operations where you can return to take on new quests, basically Wolverine's version of the friendly neighborhood app in Spider-Man 2. Coming back to Madripoor makes sense because as part of the Madripoor story that the trailer is referencing, Wolverine returns looking for the Tiger, which turns out to be Tiger, aka Jason Juan, who Wolverine ends up fighting after realizing she's watching him. During this fight, Wolverine is jumped by two other villains named Sapphire Sticks and Razor Fist, who are both working as part of Roche's organization. Wolverine is defeated and taken back to be tortured by the Inquisitor, but ends up escaping. This is where he adopts the Patch disguise, and he meets up with Jason again after finding out she's the Tiger he's been looking for. Wolverine is apparently there to help her bring down Roche so she can replace him as Madripoor's crime lord, which is preferred since she's not a fan of drugs or selling humans as property like he is. Her and Wolverine also develop a romantic relationship during the story, and it feels like Insomniac will definitely be using this particular run as inspiration. If these villains don't pique your interest so far, don't worry, because Wolverine has a lot of encounters while in Madripoor and working with Seraph, which include battles against the Hand, which Insomniac seemed to heavily tease in Spider-Man 2, in addition to Daredevil, so it would make sense to bring them in as a way to further connect their shared universe. Of course, we can't forget Sabertooth, Wolverine's most iconic enemy besides the Juggernaut.
I'm the Juggernaut!
who is usually an X-Men threat, whereas Sabertooth is pretty much always Logan's sworn enemy. In fact, Wolverine encounters Sabertooth during a return to Madripoor in Wolverine number 9, where he has to go undercover to stop a criminal auction that is selling superhero artifacts. So there is hope for Sabertooth enjoyers that he'll make an appearance in Wolverine's debut game. What do you think of the potential plot and enemies of Marvel's Wolverine? Let me know in the comments below, and to learn more about when to expect Wolverine's release, as well as the next trailer, check out the next video on screen.